introduction to the keynote for this evening. Colin Dabkowski, freshman for Alden, winner of the Early Career Teacher Award. Yeah, I gotta say, and I said some words before, but there's something I think I want everybody to really hear and understand is this is an all-in profession in a way that it's hard to understand, and we say that to our students. And it's not all in like a terrible way. It's, if you're doing it the right way, I think, it's still difficult, as Kevin Ryan said. But it's all in a way like it means so much to your life to do this work with these kids. And that's the one thing I've recognized with Colin. In a lot of ways, your brickwork, your papers that you did, I was very impressed with that. I'm not joking. But your commitment to the kids that you work with, Youth Voices last week, Colin brought some kids, and he's like, well, now I have the musical, or was it a musical, or theater? Yeah. So Youth Voices was a huge thing, registered, and then the following day, for 2 nights, he was putting on a co-production with his friend from Lackawanna, so Lackawanna kids and Alden kids. And this all-in kind of stuff is really important. It's really hard work though, and it's tiring. So the fact that he's here again, preparing a keynote to present to us, I think is a testament to his commitment to this profession and to this community. And it's just an honor to know him. So Colin, thank you so much. Let's go to Colin once again.
I think you might have talked a little too much, but I just want to say, as I mentioned earlier, what an amazing community I think that Jim and everyone else involved in winning that in the Buffalo State English Education Program has built. We were reflecting earlier that there is no, at least to my knowledge, science teachers in Western New York, no first grade teachers in Western New York, like no platform to celebrate the work that we do. We don't do it to be celebrated, but it feels really good. So, and that's like not something that we seek out, but like it's amazing. And it is hard work to build a community. As those of you who try to build classroom communities know, you fail constantly and you feel exhausted and you ask yourself, why am I doing this? And you threaten to quit every year, and then you come back and do it again until you retire. And you only do it because of love. And that's the number one thing. Our inspirational teacher of the year, leading with love, is something that I think is the best message. It's tough to follow all the things that have been said here tonight because they're all, I think, maybe more relevant than what I had to offer you. But I just want to say thanks, first of all, to everyone winning that. Dr. Chacon, Dr. Dabkowski, doctors, future Dr. Vanessa O'Neill, White, Scott Ryman, Jared Whipple for your presence in my classroom and introduction earlier, Bailey Buckley, Deb Berlesman, did I say Scott Ryman? Everyone. Noah, everyone. It's an amazing community. So I feel really lucky to be here. I just want to talk a little bit tonight about this idea of like why is we do what we do. There is a popular notion of high school education. It's popular among students and teachers alike, I have to say, that the goal of our profession is to prepare students for what's next, to get them ready for the next video game level of their lives. But in this one-dimensional view, I think teachers function primarily as tutors to help students unlock sort of the next level of their education. Once they unlock that level, they can reach the next rung of the ladder, and the next one, and the next one, so that once they enter the workforce, many of them see the world and their own potential as a single ladder with space only for themselves. And what happens to everyone else along the way is less important than your ascension to the next rung that ladder. Our education system was built in that way and functions in that way. Here's a ladder, here's what you need to do to get to the next step. Are there other people involved in that? Maybe, maybe not. That's not what the game is about. Presented with this skinny one-person ladder and brainwashed after 12 years of systematic industrial schooling with the notion of unlocking the next accomplishment, it shouldn't be surprising that they take one of two options. They either refuse to play that game completely or become addicted to the feeling of achievement, climbing from one empty accomplishment to the next. I propose to you that this is sad. It's sad. And I would like to suggest a different mindset familiar to most high schoolers already. The idea that education is a multiplayer game and points accrue not to the team or to the player, but to the people and institutions that surround the team and the player. You don't get points to go to the next level. Your community gets the points. And you're in this community together to build something of importance. And I would like to propose a different mission for teaching that I learned from a lot of different places, including my mom, who was a kindergarten teacher in the Newfane School District for more than 30 years, my own high school teachers who broke all the rules of what they were supposed to be teaching us to give us educational experiences that we still remember, and to this remarkable program at Buffalo State that is rooted in ideas of community, of social justice, and teaching as an act of love. Instead of teaching students that their education, and indeed their life, is only valuable if it unlocks some unforeseen next level, I believe the goal of education is for students to make change in their own communities right now. Right now. No matter how old those students are. We tell students that we're preparing them for 6th grade, for 7th grade, to pass the 8th grade test. And they have to learn the 5-paragraph essay so they can pass the 11th grade Regents exam. And they have to do that so that they can get into AP, and they have to do that so that they can get to college. Why we do this? This is a totally insane idea that this program was invented to counteract, I think. And that's why I feel quite lucky to be a part of it. The notion of waiting until high school graduation or middle school graduation to make change in the world is insulting, I think, to students' intelligence and to our own selves and souls as teachers. The mission is bigger than that, than preparation. I also go back to, in many ways, English 200. I was just talking to some more recent than these students in this program about how nerve-wracking it was to get up and present in front of Sir Cohen and ABC and feel like unjustifiably terrified because it was like such a comfortable environment. Like you felt like being judged. But they introduced me to William Ayres, who described education in a really interesting way as a narrative of transformation. As somebody who teaches theater, I found this metaphor really interesting. William Ayres describes teaching as like a 3-act play. And he says, in this drum we start with the status quo, receive notions of what a good education is. For example, to prepare students for what's next. That's what we start with. If we knock at these hollow notions hard enough, we might reach Act 2, which Ayres defines as all the fireworks, the moments of upheaval and dissonance, the experiences of discovery and surprise, the energy of remodeling and refashioning that take place in classrooms and institutions that embrace the chaos and experimental nature of true learning. And if we have enough fun with the fireworks in Act 2 of Ayres' 3-act play, we get to the real good stuff, which, as he says, is the achievement of new ways of knowing and behaving, expanded horizons and fresh possibilities. The drama of education is the constant and persistent drama of possibility and transformation. I read those words in English 200 and they didn't have weight yet. But after 5 years of teaching, I understand that those words mean everything. The possibility of transformation of a classroom that is messy and chaotic and that doesn't follow the rules. and in fact breaks rules on purpose. Sometimes that is radical, that empowers students in ways that they're not used to being empowered. I know it sounds grandiose and dramatic, and I do direct the plays at AHS, so I hope you'll forgive me the little grandiosity in the service of what I think is a great profession. I think one of the most important things that I learned from Buff State about learning, and Dr. Ciccone would always tell me, or tell us, do you really understand how students learn? And we would that's a profound question, because we really didn't and don't. And we were always learning how students best learn. I always go back to that. But what they taught me is that it's the result of authentic activities designed for authentic audiences. Learning is not about the insertion of facts and figures into student brains, as we all know in this room, but rather the consequence of real-world activities that positively impact the community. So effective teaching has to be rooted in service. This is something I've learned through practice. It has to be rooted in service. It has to have a mission beyond the teacher and the assessment, and indeed beyond the students themselves. Which is surprising to me, because I thought it was all about the students, but actually it's bigger than the students in front of you. Your teaching is about the community beyond the classroom. It has to be directed at improving that community, however you define the word. So commas and periods and the elimination of the active voice and the construction of properly cited evidence and discussion protocols are actually all in service of the community if we do it right. They're taught at the point of need by instructors trained to recognize where that point exists and to pour ideas and humanity and love into that space in precisely the right combination. And the trick of it is we don't know what the combination is, and we always get it wrong. We add a little too much of one thing and not enough of another. As one of my friends and mentors, Kevin Ryan, who was here earlier, has put it, so teaching is more of an art than a science. We've tried to define it for so many years as a scientific practice that can be ascribed to standards and that can be measured through data points. And we all know in our souls that that's not what teaching really is. It never feels that way. It is measured that way. And to extend Kevin Ryan's thought, of course I'll quote Paulo Freire, who Dr. Ciccone introduced me to, Buffalo State program, and with this amazing quote, I think really is the bottom of what teaching is. The teacher is, of course, an artist, he says. Of course, the teacher is an artist. What a silly question. But being an artist does not mean that he or she can make the profile, can shape the students. He's telling us we can't shape students. What is that about? What the educator does in teaching is to make it possible for the students to become themselves. And that was like a real revelation to me. Like, you don't have an effect on your students. You actually can't chisel and shape them. You're not the Michelangelo of your students. It's not some Hollywood movie. But rather, you're creating a space where they come to recognize in themselves a spark of beauty and creativity that they didn't see before. And not only that, they recognize that that spark can light a bigger fire in their community. And that's like our job. I don't know what's going on up there, but it sounds amazing. It's so it's great. I love like all the sounds going on. It drives me to my classroom actually, because there's always like 700 things going on. And it's hard to sustain your concentration. I'm a little nervous too. But the educator makes it possible for students to become themselves. So the educator is the shaper of environments. And that is like the kind of thing that took me 5 years to learn, and that will take me another like 25 years probably to get better at. And I won't say perfect, because you just can't perfect it. But what I want to stress is that you're just an environment creator as a teacher. You're not going to change your students. You're not going to chisel them in some magic way. You're just going to create an environment where it becomes, as Paulo Freire said, possible for them to be themselves. I want to just give a couple examples. I don't want to take up too much time, but I just want to talk about some of the ways that I've seen that work in my classroom, because I felt like that might be helpful for you guys to see. All right, so excuse my crouching down here. My speaker's not working. Okay, so I'm not even going to play the audio for you because it isn't that important. But one situation that I've been thinking about these days, May 15th, yesterday was the anniversary of the shooting in 22, where many people lost their lives because of a racist attack. And Alden's a school where it's not a diverse population. There are a few African American students, and one of them was one of my students who said to me, in my class, like, I really want to do something about this. What should I do? I was like, I don't know. Like, how powerless do you feel in the face of a tragedy like this? I asked her what did she want to do, and we made some time and space for her to create conversations among people in the school who were not white. There's very few people, and she put together a pretty incredible sort of documentary. Hopefully it'll play a little bit farther. It starts out with a recap of the shootings.